Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back here today with an article from the Daily Signal dated October 28th, and it's called What the World's Richest Country Can't Afford. And, well, if you're looking at the picture on the screen right now, you probably know the answer to that question. And New York, I hate what's about to happen to you. I really do, but it's not going to be good. Just brace yourself. So, article says, excuse me, we're not cutting that out, says undermining the principles that made America wealthy is no way to fix poverty. Senator Bernie Sanders, socialist of Vermont, and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, socialist of New York, recently participated in a CNN town hall. Sanders appears to be passing the socialist leadership torch to AOC. Huh. Well, yeah. Okay, sure. Says don't expect her to support collective ownership of that prize. Says you shouldn't discount her ability to one day win the presidency either. As seen by the ascension of Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic Party is increasingly comfortable with socialism, and that is bad. Socialism is never good, and I don't want anybody coming to the comments to argue that it is, because it's not, if you knew anything about it at all. Says many young people are too. During their town hall, Sanders articulated the appeal. Says we're living in the richest country in the history of the world, right? Sanders said. All right, you can tell me why we're the only nation not to guarantee health care to all people, because it's not a human right, Bernie. The only nation not to guarantee paid family and medical leave, again, not a human right. Why we have a $7.25 an hour minimum wage, and why we have 800,000 people sleeping out on the street. And the thing is, a lot of those homeless people really want to be on the street. It's not it's one of those things that's a choice. And I don't think he understands that. And the minimum wage, I don't know if that's the actual minimum wage, but at the same time, the more you I'm not good with economics, but I can tell you the more you raise the minimum wage, the more expensive things are going to get. Okay, because companies need to somehow cover the cost of being able to pay their employees, so they need to raise the prices to be able to do that. And that's why Bernie keeps going like, let's make a $20 minimum wage. And it's a very bad Bernie impersonation, but you know what I mean. So it says on the surface, this makes sense. If Peter has $20 and Paul has $1, you can temporarily make Paul richer by robbing Peter. But it doesn't make sense when you think about it more deeply. First, you have to ask, what is natural, poverty or wealth? And in fact, up until like the Industrial Revolution, poverty was in fact the normal. And capitalism, the thing that these folks like to decry, is the reason why 99% of the population of the world wouldn't be considered poor anymore, really. Okay, but they just want to leave that convenient fact out. It says America is so rich that many assume wealth and abundance are normal. But look throughout human history. Many people lived in grinding poverty. Even kings and queens 300 years ago didn't have the things that many poor individuals now take for granted. Acknowledging the reality of scarcity leads to the second question. If poverty is normal, why is America the richest country in the history of the world? There are several factors, including property rights, the rule of law, and reliable electricity. But let's take a closer look at this one, the free market, and there you go. In other words, capitalism. Just think about what happens when you buy a $6 double-double from In-N-Out. I've never had In-N-Out. I don't think there's one anywhere near me in Illinois. And I mean, like, as in not in this state. But maybe one of these days I'll get around to an In-N-Out. It says, who wins that transaction? You or the company? It's a trick question because you both do. You valued the burger more than the $6, while the company valued your cash over its product. That win-win transaction is mutually beneficial. You're both better off. In capitalism, people become rich based on their ability to provide things people want. Even the most selfish person is incentivized to serve others. This is why, in a free market, a billionaire's wealth doesn't threaten your financial position. We aren't stuck fighting over a fixed amount of stuff. People make money by creating additional value for others. The proverbial pie keeps expanding. Capitalism is distinct from cronyism, which is where people co-opt the power of government to enrich themselves. So kind of like what Congress is doing. So it doesn't make people better off. Additionally, government regulations can stifle economic growth by interfering with the ability of entrepreneurs and companies to create mutually beneficial transactions. In a free market, wage growth happens naturally because companies have to compete to attract workers. As workers gain experience and skills, they become more valuable. Now you can see the paradox in Sanders' statement. The United States is the world's richest country because it has fewer regulations and redistributionists, that's a big word, programs than other countries. Sanders' plan is like telling a professional athlete that he can afford to eat junk food and stop working out. An elite athlete can get away with it in the immediate term, but continuing to do so would destroy the very habits that made him a professional athlete. The free market gave poor Americans today better material possessions, like electric lights, air conditioning, and cell phones than the royalty of centuries past. Instead of celebrating this, socialists seek to undermine the ideas and institutions that made America so wealthy. And socialists also think that, like, what you do and what you make is somehow theirs. It's a religion of envy. It doesn't work. Okay? I'm sorry, but I don't work for you. And the things that Bernie brought up here, or I should say, it's not that I don't work for you, it's I don't work, to make money so that you can have it. Okay? And the things that he brought up, also, they're not human rights when you're relying on someone else's labor for it, like healthcare and the guaranteed paid family and medical leave. Same thing would apply there. So, like, the problem is with Bernie is that he doesn't realize that his ideas are stupid, and they're easily counteracted. And this article's short, and I wish it went into more detail about that sort of stuff, but maybe sometime down the line we'll get one. But if Zoran Mamdani does all the things he says he wants to do, which I don't think he can do most of the things, just because I think there's, I just don't think that he legally can. But if he can do it, you're about to see what socialism does live and in person, and anybody that still continues to support it after that, you're retarded. That's all I got to say. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.